So San Diego Comic-Con is wrapped up, and with it, the IGN afterparty, sponsored by Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. And as you might expect, we didn't get much, but after the party, IGN did post a brief recap video, and we get a look at some new parts that we haven't seen before. There's not many, so this will be a quick video, but we start out with some thrusters and move on to some really interesting weapons towards the end. So stick around. So we open up with the BST-G1/P10, first generation boosters developed by Furlong Dynamics. Though inferior to current models, this booster remains a viable choice, especially for lightweight assemblies, due to its moderate energy burden and ease of use. And it could be that something like this is our starting boosters, something a little on the weak end and outdated, but easy to use because it doesn't drain much. Moving on from there, we have the BST-G2/PO6SPD. That's a mouthful. Second generation boosters developed by Furlong Dynamics. This model prizes movement over quick boost thrust, making it a good fit for assemblies that are designed for endurance. So that is to say that these are the second generation of the boosters we saw a second ago, a little stronger with good sustained overall boost time. Moving on from there are boosters that's closer to something I've been waiting for, the Alula 21E, boosters specialized for initial thrust developed by Schneider. Intended for use with Schneider frames, it allows for extremely high evasive performance when used as a part for lightweight assembly. One thing to note here is the vast majority of lightweight parts that we've seen have been developed by Schneider, which is fine. The corporations do tend to specialize a little bit, but I definitely want to see us branch out from there with some other lightweight companies. I don't want, if I'm running a featherweight AC, to just be full Schneider. Where's the fun in that? How am I supposed to make build videos when they're like, oh, just equip all the Schneider parts. You'll be the fastest. Not that I think that it's anything we really have to worry about. Moving on from there, we're going to get into what you've been waiting for, the weapons. And it's a set of missiles we see this time around. We start off strong with the BM-0999 Delivery Boy. And what a name. A cluster missile launcher developed by RAD, packed with a large number of compact explosives to carpet bomb the area. Apparently, this design comes from the feverish mind of a coral-addled engineer. I wonder if we'll get more from that engineer. Just really unique, strange weapons from our overdosed coral-addled engineer. It also does help reinforce the idea of using the coral as a mental stimulant, even if you aren't using it just to pilot. But what really makes this one special is, of course, just the behavior of the missile, packed with a large number of explosives to carpet bomb the area. Chances are you won't hit with all of them, but this thing might be super hard to avoid. Also, look at the size of this thing. Some of the missiles on here are massive. And speaking of massive missiles, right before this one, we do get a little snippet of the missile above it, and though we don't get a description for it, you can take a closer look. The thing's huge. I'm guessing that this is going to be a really large, high-damaging single-shot missile. But I guess we'll have to wait and find out. Moving on from there, we get a missile that definitely wins points for style. The BC-5001 Soup. Also points for its name. A siege missile launcher developed by RAD. The missiles linger for a short while after launch before propelling themselves towards the target, allowing the user to effectively surround the target single-handedly. And that seems to be the theme with a lot of these missiles. Hard to evade. And while the individual rounds do the same amount of damage as our cluster missile, this doesn't shoot 4, it shoots 10. 10 hovering siege missiles that have a delayed fire. It also means you can't dodge it right when you see them fire it. You dodge while they hover there, and then as soon as you're done boosting, they're going to fly at you. Timing is going to be tricky on a lot of these missiles. Moving on from there, we have the 45-091 JVLN Beta, or Javelin Beta. Special missile launcher developed by Allmind. Creates a chain of delayed explosions along the missile's trajectory, putting additional pressure on targets if they manage to evade the initial missile. And again, the theme here seems to be hard to evade. But what an interesting missile behavior. It shoots out a missile and then along its trajectory drops off ordnances and just has explosions along that path. That's super interesting. We also, of course, see that corporation Allmind, which I've mentioned in one of my previous videos that I knew we were getting as a corporation, but here they're confirmed to be a parts manufacturer. And what interesting parts they have. Moving on from that one, we have one of the missiles that I'm definitely super interested in, the EL-PW-01 Terreno. A needle missile launcher developed by Elcano, fires stake-shaped projectiles at high velocity that bore through the target's armor. These are non-explosive missiles that rely on raw physical power. Needle missiles that don't explode. They're just projectile spikes that bore into the target. These things are pile bunkers with a thruster. And I'm definitely curious when it talks about that boring into the armor, if that's just more flavor texts, or if there is actually something there with heavier ACs. Maybe this thing does a ton of damage to tanks. That'd be an interesting way to go, but since we never get a good look at the expanded stats screen, we don't yet know. We also see one more organization here, Elcano. We don't really know anything about them, but I'm a big fan of their missiles. And that's the end of the new parts they give us. A couple of interesting boosters, and some really interesting, really unique missiles. And for those coming in new to Armored Core, we've always had your basic missiles, fires a cluster forward. We've had micro missiles that shoot out a bunch of small ones, vertical launch missiles that we see in the story trailer before this. We've had large Kojima missiles that have a big detonating explosion at the end. We, of course, had the ultimate weapon missile that is basically a mushroom cloud. But I think all in all, we haven't had anything that is nearly unique in behavior as these missiles. And if this is just a taste of some of the weapons we're going to get, I am super excited about it. So tell me what you think in the comments. You going to be using any of these? Or maybe you have some fun missile ideas of your own. Let me know, and I'll see you next time.